Good morning. Welcome to your Thursday, September 13th, 10 a.m. weather briefing. Currently across the region, we have a frontal boundary that is off to our west and will eventually be washing out today with Category 2 Hurricane Florence continuing its westward progression towards the North Carolina coastline, where it is expected to make landfall. It looks like tomorrow morning. However, out ahead of that system, we have already started to see widespread cloudiness over our area, as well as onshore winds beginning to pick up. Could potentially see a wind advisory being issued for the Wallops area here in the next couple hours, and pretty much will be in that wind advisory criteria, looks like through tomorrow and into Saturday as well. And we'll also be experiencing some of the outer rain bands from Florence entering our region. It looks like they'll hold off until this afternoon, and then we'll continue heading into this weekend. Just taking a quick look at the satellite imagery. Again, widespread cloudiness across our area this morning. Plenty of low cloudiness as well, as we have a ceiling right now at about 400 feet. It's been varying between 400 and 500 foot. Should see those ceilings begin to lift slightly here over the next several hours, eventually becoming 600 feet, then 1,000 feet later this afternoon. But as we look at the next 24 hours, we'll have the potential that we'll see wind gusts up around 26 knots closer to the noontime hour, with a northeasterly sustained winds at about 14 to 19 knots. Again, ceilings are below 500 feet this morning, so we'll continue that, and again through about noon today, and then they should lift just above that 500 foot level. Visibilities, though, are unrestricted as of this morning. Do have the chance so that they could be sitting right around that 500 foot level as we go throughout the remainder of the afternoon. High temperatures today are expected to be around 81 degrees, and max winds, it looks like, will for today will be topping out again later this afternoon at about 28 knots, with winds out of the northeast at 16 to 21 knots sustained. And again, that'll be for later this evening. Rain chances look to increase after about 4 p.m. this afternoon. Again, ceilings still hovering around that 500 foot level, and then we could potentially see just a slight chance of a thunderstorm, about 20% chance after 11 p.m. this evening through about 4 a.m. tomorrow morning, with some stronger bands moving through the area, potentially interacting with some upper level energy that could be moving through the area. Low temperatures tonight expected to hover around in the mid 70s, down to a low of 75 degrees, with winds still remaining up over the area out of the east-northeast, 14 to 19 knots, gusting to 25 knots. Then could potentially see some 27 knot gusts as we get closer to the 8 a.m. hour tomorrow morning. Tides are currently 1 foot above normal, and for tomorrow, we'll still be experiencing impacts from Florence, cloudy and breezy with scattered rain showers likely. We'll have a high of 80 degrees with likely wind advisory criteria. It still looks like we could potentially see some wind gusts around that 35 mile per hour mark or less, but still looking like we'll be in wind advisory criteria throughout the day tomorrow and during the overnight hours Friday into Saturday. Friday night, overcast and breezy with a chance of showers, a low of 75 degrees. And then for our day on Saturday, mostly cloudy to overcast and breezy with a chance of scattered showers. We're going to have a high of 89 degrees. And Saturday will not be a washout by any means. It will be hit or miss in terms of the shower activity moving through the area. And then it looks like we'll start to see a reprieve from the shower activity once we get into the later portions of the afternoon. Winds also look to be diminishing as well throughout the day on Saturday, so that wind advisory criteria has a chance of being dropped as we get into the later portions of the day on Saturday. But looking at the next 7 days, we're going to again having impacts from Florence pretty much into early next week, as the looks like what's going to happen with this system is it'll make landfall Friday morning and then hover over the southeastern United States before getting picked up by an upper level trough and progress northward. And at that time, early next week, it looks like the moisture from that system will get moved through our area. With the system moving through, could see some potentially heavy rainfall for our area, especially on Tuesday. Maybe even have a thunderstorm mixed in with there, as it's interacting with the system moving across our area, and with that tropical moisture aided in. Again, that will be conducive to potential heavy rainfall for us on Tuesday. But then by Wednesday, we'll have high pressure building back into the area. Fairly strong northwesterly winds on Wednesday should help to keep our temperatures up in the lower to mid 80s for our day on Wednesday. For the Florence update, as of 8 a.m., Category 2 hurricane with sustained winds at 110 miles per hour, central pressure of 956 millibars, with a northwesterly component to its movement at 12 miles per hour. The forecasted track by the National Hurricane Center expected to be Category 2 hurricane once it makes landfall, which looks like it will be tomorrow morning, and right around that Wilmington area in North Carolina. And then it looks like the steering flow will pretty much get completely cut off from the system with an upper level ridge building over it. It will allow this system to pretty much sit over the North Carolina-South Carolina border, just dumping copious amounts of rainfall, with storm surges expected to be about 9 to 13 feet in some areas. And areas in the along the coastal portions of South Carolina and North Carolina had the potential to see well over 2 feet of rain potentially dropping in that area. So catastrophic flooding is expected for that area. But as we head into the later portions of Sunday, it'll begin to drift farther south into South Carolina, and then eventually getting picked up by an upper level trough as the ridge begins to break down Sunday night into Monday, and then eventually make its way northward, with the remnants of Florence getting picked up into a system that'll be traversing the central portions of the United States and then moving into the Tennessee Valley. And then eventually the system looks like it could potentially move through our area on Tuesday, which again sets up the stage that we could see some potentially heavy rainfall for our area. Still looking at a closer zoomed in visible outlook, the eye is completely engulfed in cloud cover right now. It's somewhat hard to discern, but still seeing some fairly good convection developing along the front, or along the eye, excuse me. And the storm is again expected to still remain a Category 2 hurricane as it makes landfall on Friday morning. And the forecast guidance is, as it typically does with the short amount of time frame it has here left till landfall, has come to pretty tight guidance there, moving into around the Wilmington, North Carolina area, if not shifting just a bit south, and then remaining stationary pretty much over the Carolinas before getting picked up by that upper level trough. And the European ensemble guidance pretty much shows the same track and time frame as expected. There are some model differences in terms of results, the end results of Florence heading into early next week, and we'll definitely keep an eye on that for the potential impacts from that in terms of the heavy rainfall potential heading into early next week. Well, that'll conclude the, I should mention, however, as has been the case over the past several briefings, for our cases here, again, max winds are expected, again, below 35 mile per hour wind gusts for the Wallops area, with 1 to 2 feet tidal anomalies over the Friday into Saturday. So just some minor flooding possible along the coastal areas, and then those should begin to drop off heading into the later portions of Saturday into Sunday. And when rainfall amounts looking generally with the outer rain bands that move through the area, right around an inch, some areas possibly over that. If we do get some of that heavier rainfall, some areas could see 1.5 inches possibly in the isolated areas where those tropical rain bands develop. That'll conclude the weather briefing for today. We'll be back with you at 8:15 tomorrow morning for your daily operations weather briefing. Have a great day.